Hello everybody! Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be reading Chapter 1, Jubilation, of my Volume 1, The Life of an Alterhuman book. Let me just get my camera adjusted. Okay. So I'm just going to be using my natural voice today because my kawaii voice is a little bit sore, as you can probably tell. And yeah, let's get right into it. The alarm rang and rang, my ears screaming for the awful noise to stop. My head was pounding, like I just ran a mile. Flopping over, I hit the button on my phone. Trying to recall the events of last night, I came up blank. Guess the fragments of some weird dream were truly just a weird dream. I began getting dressed for school, doing my usual. While pulling on my jacket and getting ready to head downstairs for breakfast, I turned around. Startled, the breath was knocked right out of me. A smiling, faded ghost stood behind me. She was a brunette with blue eyes and a ribbon above her ear with a feather. The mythical creature also had a name tag that said Feather, and delicate-looking white wings with blue webbing. Ah, now I remembered. Friend or foe? I grinned, already knowing the answer. Friend, she squealed. I'm Feather, your first ever voice. Have you researched Alterhumans yet? Feather hurried to the computer, which was already running. Excitedly, she pointed and beckoned for me to type, as she couldn't touch objects. I suppose I have a minute to do some research. I began to type in the word Alterhuman, pausing midway to face my new companion. I thought you were only supposed to be in my head. A few of us can be out at one time. Now hurry! You must do as the harborer wishes. She assigned me to you specifically. You see, I'm a dove Therian. I was a dove, then misplaced into a human body. The harborers couldn't erase my mind of all my memories, so they gave me back my old ones. I chose to be a voice instead of limbo. Waltzing around in paradise isn't really my style. Now please look it up. I began to read article after article, skimming and watching short videos. Not a furry. Therian, otherkin, fictionkin, theotype, quadropics aren't necessary. Gear can be fun. Try learning vocals. Clado-Therian is an entire family. Not everyone has a past life. Different theories. Packs. It's certainly interesting, but what does that have to do with me? I asked. I think you are one. I can sense it. My mother suddenly barged into my room, interrupting her. Startled, Feather dashed into the safety of my mind while I waited patiently for my mom to leave. Who are you talking to? She asked as she shuffled through my belongings in an effort to find a pencil. Swallowing, I nervously replied, Nobody. I heard you talking, she replied sternly. You weren't talking to strangers online, right? In all honesty, I hadn't done a single thing wrong. I was talking to somebody that would be living with me for the rest of my life. Unavoidable. Practicing my speech for class, I mumbled. Apparently she couldn't hear Feather. That was a little sketchy in itself, and I made a silent prayer that I wasn't going crazy. My mom glanced over to my computer, noticing the tab with theory information. She let out a huffy sigh in disappointment. Don't tell me you're one of those weirdos who can change their gender or whatever. I bit back my response, anger boiling. Both my parents were what you could call old-fashioned. They were also both extremely religious. I personally never approved of their ideas, but in order to not be disowned, I had to put up with their hate speech. Clicked something by accident, I replied. She took this as an appropriate answer and closed out the tab, then turned off my PC. Figuring she wanted me to finish getting ready, I stuffed my homework into my backpack and added a ribbon to my hair. Time to leave for school. In the car, the voice wouldn't stop whispering to me. She couldn't help herself but explain all of the characteristics, importance, and information about Alterhumans. She also wouldn't stop mentioning the words kawaii, meowba, and MCYT, which was odd. It was hard to pay attention when you're with your 10-year-old little sister nagging for your attention every 10 seconds. Violet was what you could call the perfect child, in my parents' eyes. Violet never asked for a phone or exposing clothes or did anything out of the ordinary. Violet never complained about going to church every Sunday or doing her homework. And of course, Violet could play the piano and had all A's while I could barely pass my classes. Stop ignoring your sister, my father shouted from the driving seat. Our cookie-cutter family always made sure that both of them would be there to drop us off at school, always plastering on fake smiles in front of teachers and other parents, while in reality it was a parent that used favoritism to their advantage. I can't look out the window in peace, I said back. No talking back, my mom ordered. Mind your manners, Ambrosia. She then sweetly shuffled through her bag and handed a chocolate to Violet, not even bothering to ask me if I wanted one. The car rides were always tense, and I sighed with relief when we pulled up to our school. The massive brick walls of Boulder, Colorado education reminded me of the gloomy existence and boredom that waited inside. The school was for all ages, which meant a dress code and watching your language for preschoolers' sake. I opened the door of our Toyota and hopped onto the pavement. I opened the door of our Toyota and hopped onto the pavement, greeted by cool air and the smell of pine trees. Behind the school was a massive forest, stretching into the distance for miles on end. "Goodbye, girls," my dad politely waved. The vice principal nodded in approval, then continued to greet students at the doorway. I didn't have any friends here, so I usually kept to myself on my school-issued device. I found that doing the classwork was easy and repetitive, although I was trying to get better grades. Violet always told me that the reason I got bad grades was because I didn't bother trying and was too smart, but it felt more like I was just plain stupid. My first class was history, so I grabbed my textbook on medieval castles in Holland, which is possibly the most time-consuming book to read on the planet. The bell rang, and hundreds of students abruptly ended their conversation and scattered down the halls. I went into room C-013 and sat at a seat beside the window. On the second floor, there was a pleasant view of the sun rising over the tall Rocky Mountains and the hawks circling rabbits in the woods. Dew had settled on the window from nighttime and was slowly dripping down from sunlight's warm glare. Mr. Lacrosse babbled on and on about the fortifications of moats and use of oak wood in the throne rooms, while I escaped reality and chatted silently away to Feather. By the time the class was over, I'd missed the lecture, the assignment, and had to do the homework. It was obvious I had no idea what was going on when Mr. Lacrosse asked, "So, Ambrosia, could you please explain question 4 and why Queen Elizabeth decided to tear down the West Castle?" My cheeks heated up with embarrassment as I fumbled for an answer. Because the foundation was unstable? The class erupted into laughter while my history teacher just shook his head. Jennifer, who was sitting beside me, giggled. "There's no question 4. The bell rang a moment later, and I packed my things up. As I was heading out the door, the teacher stopped me. "Stay a second." The word sent chills down my spine. I turned awkwardly around on my heel and pulled up a chair in front of the teacher's desk. "You seem more distracted recently," he said. "Is something troubling you at home? Divorce, death of a parent, maybe?" I was about to reply no when Feather spoke to me. "Don't give in, Amy." That was her nickname for me, my voice said. "All you have to do is make up an excuse. Tell me you're struggling, but don't want to tell me about it." My family's going through a rough patch right now. I felt awfully guilty for lying, but what else could I do in this situation? "I'll get the homework done." Sympathy now flooding Mr. Lacrosse's eyes, he kindly remarked, "I'm so sorry, Ambrosia, but with the end of the semester and school year coming up, there's just no way you can raise your D-. Even with advanced tutoring and scoring 100% on the final test, the most you could hope for is a C." He adjusted his glasses. "And to be perfectly honest, nobody's ever gotten more than an 80% on my final." What little hope I had left diminished. Would it be possible to pass the year with all C-? But my history teacher only shook his head. "You're going to need that extra bump to graduate 10th. The grading rubric shifted this year. You'll need an actual C or higher." For a second, time stopped ticking, and I prayed to be taken back to the outside realm, to die and just fly away. "Thank you," I managed to squeak out. Grabbing my bag, I rushed out of the room as tears began to fall. Thrown into a whirlwind of emotions, I raced into the bathroom just as it was time for the second period. This would mark up yet another tardy on my attendance record, a permanent blemish my mother would holler at me about. I adjusted my hair tie and checked my phone. A text from my mom? About my tardy. I felt like screaming, but instead I took a deep breath and sent back a message describing what happened. Of course, it was taken the wrong way, which led to her calling the guidance counselor, which led to them suggesting therapy to figure out why I was failing and unfocused. "Hello, dear." It had only been a few days since the bad news, and I had been enrolled into therapy sessions with a cheap lady named Miss Arkin. When I paused to respond, she instantly jotted something down on a pad of paper, to which I rolled my eyes to. "I'm Ambrosia, and I'm here because I'm supposedly distracted." Arkin opened up a file folder, skimming the pages briefly before turning back to me. "Do you hear things, like people inside your head?" I opened my mouth to respond yes, but Feather stopped me abruptly once again. "This is a trap. Don't do it, Ambrosia. She's trying to make up an excuse. I haven't been here a week. You just process things differently. Tell her that." "Maybe I just process things differently," I replied. Miss Arkin wrote it down, sighing and fidgeting in her seat. "My advice? People who have real problems need to come here, and you're just wasting precious time. Focus on your studies, figure it out, and maybe take summer school." So I can leave? Certainly. The therapist shooed me away, but as I was leaving, anxiety began to course through my veins. This felt like the wrong decision, like I was running away from an opportunity that could fix my life. Closing my eyes for a moment, I tried to shut out Feather for a second, give myself a breather. You're not getting rid of me that easily, she chuckled. I'm supposed to be helping you solve your problems, silly. Annoyance tugged at my throat as the voice continued. Come on. Come on, don't you want to learn more about Alterhumans? I'm tired, I stated. I should probably focus on my studies. If you can't help me figure out how many cathedral towers are in Holland, what use are you? Besides, from what you're saying, I'm positive I'm not really a non-human. A couple walking towards the relationship advice building shot me an odd look. Maybe I should stop talking out loud. Don't be intimidated by other people, Feather whispered. Stand up for yourself. That lady just gave you attitude, so fight back. The voice was beginning to seriously get on my nerves now, so I walked away from the situation and called my mom to pick me up. What's up? I heard a person say from behind me. Whipping around, I saw Feather in her outside form. About to open my mouth and protest, I spotted an elegant girl beside the voice. The stranger had wavy black hair and a short orange dress with two small protruding fangs. There's more of you? I jumped back in surprise. Jesus, I thought it was hard enough just dealing with one. Playfully, the new girl leaped and danced on the ball of her foot. I'm Vixen, she introduced herself sweetly. Feather presumed you needed more help understanding your past, so here I am. I was an other-hearted, and foxes were my family. Vixen entered my mind, and it felt a bit like chaos. Most voices represent emotions, Feather shrugged. I'm unique and have an entire personality, but a fox girl, on the other hand, she is countless energy. To be quite honest with you, you'd probably represent lazy. Whoa, she turned for the rude rather fast, huh? Suddenly, in strange tones, they began to speak another language. The foreign tongue caught me off guard, as I was unwarned by Harborer 202. For the following 2 weeks, Feather and Vixen kept me busy and on my toes. And there we go, I have caught myself a mistake. Let me just edit this really quickly. They guided me through the fascinating world of Alterhumans, sharing their own experiences and stories. Feather, the Dove-Therian, provided a calm and soothing presence, while Vixen, the other-hearted, with fox-like energy, injected a sense of playfulness and excitement into my life. Together, they helped me navigate the complexities of my own identity. As I delved deeper into the world of Alterhumans, I discovered more about the various subtypes and communities within this diverse group. The more I learned, the more I began to question my own place in this realm. Could I really be an Alterhuman? The idea both intrigued and frightened me. During one of our conversations, Vixen shared her own journey of self-discovery. She told me how she had always felt a strong connection to foxes, and how she eventually embraced her other-hearted identity. Listening to her story made me reflect on my own experiences and the subtle but undeniable sense of longing I had always carried with me. Okay, so I'm going to stop right here, because this chapter is 3,454 words, and I'm not going to go through the rest of my evening talking about this. So I will be doing part 2 to this another time, because this video is running a little bit late already. And thank you so much for reading or listening along with me here today.